Let's talk book covers. So I'm right at the very beginning of my process, and you may be in the same place. You may have a working title, you may have some kind of idea about what it wants to look like. And the reason that I'm talking about thinking about your book cover right here, right now, is if you can mock something up, doesn't have to be perfect. If you can mock something up and start to kind of percolate those ideas of what you want in terms of typography and colors and images and stuff like that, then by the time you get to write your book cover specification and give it to a book designer, then you've lived with it for a while. So I started this process and I honestly didn't know what colors I wanted. I had an idea of what I wanted the visual to look like. And I'll tell you what I did. So I went to two different AI tools, gave it some prompts, and they both came back with some color ideas and some images and stuff like that. And I have to say, while the image is not perfect, the layout isn't perfect, I now know, having played with all these different color combinations generated by AI, I now know what colors I want. And I definitely do want the imagery that I first thought of. And I absolutely know I need a book cover designer. But what I can do from here is I can take that image, I can go and put it in Canva, I can print it on a sheet of paper and wrap it around a book and have it in front of me. That is super motivating. Now, if you're right at the very beginning, maybe you don't have any AI tools, maybe you think, I am absolutely not going to use them, then the thing to do is go and get some book covers. Some books, not some book covers, go and get some books. So what I've done is I haven't got very many books here. So this is called The Business of Stories. This is written by someone I know. It's a really, it's on brand in terms of her color. It's really, really simple. It says what it does on the tin. And yeah, so, it depends on what kind of book you want to write to what kind of cover. So if you want something that's on brand colors. Yeah. So have a look, really think about what is it I want this cover to achieve. So Susan Payton, who is the author of this book, really has done a good job because everything she puts out looks like this. So it's all on brand. So if that's important to you, that's one idea. And then this next book I picked up because I love the color, I love the colors, and it is super, super simple. So it's a book called The Promise by Mandy Morris. I know all the images are backwards, but it's a book called The Promise by Mandy Morris. What I like is I love this deep color. And it just says what it does on the tin again. So, it is a really, really powerful but super simple book cover. So if you want something like that, and I don't know her, so I don't know her brand colors, but what I do know is I just love this simplicity. It's very, very powerful. So I'm going to talk about the Rebirth book that is my book. And I'm going to tell you how this came into being. And this was published after my book, but I tell you what I did is I went onto the internet, which is what I would advise you to do, and have a look, type in book covers, award-winning book covers, go onto Amazon, do all of that stuff. Now, I came across a website from someone who had 3 books. They all had really striking colors. Like one was kind of like a tealy color, like the back there. One was purple, and I can't remember the other color. And the imagery on the front really stood out. It stood out because an illustration, it was in gold and it was super simple. And it inspired this. So the Rebirth book is about women kind of setting themselves free of trauma, but it's like the context of the book is the phoenix rising. So it's called Rebirth. Again, I love this color. And I love this really simple imagery. So I like that. And it very much suited the essence of the book. So that's that one. And then this one is one of mine. I think this is the first book I ever wrote, a very, very, very long time ago. Very, very practical book. And what I said to the designer is I wanted to use a watercolor background, and I wanted the writing to heal to be in a particular way, using particular fonts, because I wanted to create a series of books. I haven't created a series of books, but I do have 2 other writing to heal books written, which means I can use this time and time again. So do you want to write a series of books that all kind of look the same, but in a different color, and people will recognize them straight away as your books? And in this case, the series of Writing to Heal. So right at the very beginning of the process, do not overthink it. Just go and have a look, find some stuff you like, mock it up with an AI tool or do it in Canva. If you've got a color printer, great. If you haven't, beg, borrow, or steal one. Print it out on a sheet of A4 paper. You're going to have to do it on a much, much smaller book, but wrap it around a book and keep that book in front of you. Because when you've got that visual, it is so motivating. And I am so pleased that I did what I did, because I now know that the more I look at it, the more it's going to grow into me, the more that it's going to inspire me, and the easier it is to me to explain to my book cover designer. So there we go.